Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're heading out. It is May 1st. We're down here in Key West, Florida. One of the best places in Florida for tons of big, nice black grouper. They recently changed the regulations, especially in federal waters down here, so the vessel limit is now only 2 black grouper. It used to be 1 per person, regardless of the number of people on the boat. With these new federal regulations in mind, we headed out to some shallow reefs that we knew were in state waters. That way, we could take advantage of the more generous grouper limits, and hopefully bring home more fish. Alright, so this first spot is in state waters. The goal is going to be to try to stay in state waters all day today. And if you're not familiar, state waters only extend 3 miles out from the closest point of land. Now here in Key West, we have a bunch of areas where we actually have some rocks sticking up out of the water on the reef. And that essentially means that that's land, and therefore we have 3 miles from those little islands from where we can spearfish and stay in state waters. We'll see how that goes. We may need to go into federal and just accept the fact that we're only gonna get 2 today, but until that point, we're gonna give it hell. All right, let's see what's down there, and we'll keep moving spots till we find them. Well, like I was saying, Key West is just known for having tons of black grouper, so it really didn't take us too long to get on the fish. Most of these shallower spots that are within state waters are probably only about 30 foot deep. And as you can see here, we were swimming up to this ledge and I see a grouper moving from left to right. So I take a dive, I extend the gun, kind of expecting to see this fish here as I roll this corner. In a situation like this, you definitely want to see the fish before it sees you. And right here, I can just barely see the top of the head of the fish, extend the gun, and pull the trigger. Fortunately, I get a really good shot, and the grouper isn't able to break off and get into that reef there. Now, this is a pretty nice sized fish, definitely don't need to measure it, but it's not a monster by any means. And I really probably should have held off, waited for a bigger fish, because after shooting this one, I was driving the rest of the day. Something that I wanted to point out is that every fish we take on this trip is for our consumption. That's why after shooting a fish, the first thing we're doing is braining it, to make sure that it doesn't suffer any more than necessary. The second thing we do is bleed the fish, which removes the blood from the meat of the fish. This dramatically improves how the fish ends up tasting, and it's a great way to make the most of the meat you're gonna get from the fish. Wasn't gonna pass on him. Nice black.
Yeah.
First dive of the day. And I'm done. Time to get suited up, girl.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, first spot, hopped in, and we drifted back over the ledge, and he was just sitting on the ledge. He saw us and kind of rolled up under the ledge. I took a dive and rolled the corner, and he had his head sticking out. Shot placement was a little bit far forward, really kind of aiming for that stone shot about there. I had the shot, just missed, and unfortunately took out a little bit of that cheek meat there, but still a great fish, and I really wanted to get one in the boat so that we could get Milan on one. And Milan suited up and hopped in the water to join my dad, and it wasn't long before they were on some more fish.
I stoned him and the spear bounced out, and I had to swim under there and grab him. That shaft went in, hit the coral, and bounced back out. You see how far I had to swim up in there to grab him?
Yeah, I did.
Nice
He was
dog.
floating around under there, and he was going back and forth with the tide. And he was about to get sucked back in there.
One of the main limitations of being in state waters is you just have a lot less reef that you can access, especially the outer reefs. When you're measuring 3 miles from shore in certain areas where the shore is close to that drop-off, you're gonna have a lot more room to access those deeper reefs. But if land is more than 3 miles away, you're stuck to that 2 per vessel limit. Well, I wasn't driving for too long before my dad yelled and told me to anchor the boat. Milan and my dad had 2 grouper rocked up and they wanted some help getting them out. When you're hunting grouper in rocks like this, the challenge is to spot the fish, line up a shot, and pull the trigger before the fish bolts into another spot in the cave. My dad sees the fish, reaches for his gun, and pulls the trigger. The fact that the hole didn't explode with sand and dirt means that either he missed or he stoned the fish. I took a dive to see if I could recover the fish, but sometime between when my dad originally shot the fish and when I took my dive, the fish murked up the hole. It was going to take us some time to work the fish out. Around the time that all of our GoPro batteries died, we were able to land my dad's first grouper of the season. Now it was time to get Justin and Milan on one.
Hey everybody, it's Milan here, and I'm getting ready to line up on this black grouper that Derek and I swam over on this really nice reef. I'm lining up on the fish, getting ready to take my shot, and once I shoot, I realize that I had my hand over the bands, accidentally hurt myself, dropped the gun a little too soon, but did a nice recovery by grabbing the line and bringing the fish up to the surface. And that is my first black grouper of the season, and I was incredibly excited. And as you can absolutely tell, my smile completely says it all.
You want a glove?
Hey guys, this is Justin. This is my girlfriend Kat. This is her first time ever freediving in the ocean, and she wanted to jump in after watching Milan shoot her grouper and see what spearfishing was all about. Not too long after jumping in, I spotted this really nice black grouper sitting on the sand on the edge of this drop-off here. And I'm going down, lining up for a shot, and he's just not having it. He's just staying right on the edge of range. And what I do when the fish are acting like this is I tend to just keep them on the edge of my eyesight and try and keep an eye on where they go into the reef, because 9 times out of 10, these grouper are looking for a hole. And so I see him swim down this ledge, and I see that he doesn't go past that one rock there. And so I yell to the boat for a light, they toss me a light, and I'm able to dive down and search in these holes for the black grouper. As you can see, I'm being sure to roll this edge very nice and easy as to not spook them. You really don't want to make too much noise down there because that can actually draw them or push them further back up in the cave. Flick the light on as soon as I get down there, and boom, one of the first holes I check, he's sitting right there. Put the gun right up to his head, pull the trigger, got a nice holding shot on a gorgeous black grouper.
Yeah, man. Well, now we need to get him out.
So on the recovery dive, I came up, didn't really get a good breathe up in. I mean, we're only in 30 foot of water, and I was a little bit too excited, and I wanted to get back down there and get my fish to avoid him from tangling up or possibly drawing sharks in. I'm down here. I mean, I can see that he's not stuck really bad, so I'm just gonna wiggle him out of there. You can see there's a little bit of a cave lip right there, and he flared his gills out, and tried to stay down there a little bit longer. I was able to pull him out. But as you can see, when I pull him out here, the shooting line gets wrapped around the reef, which also got wrapped around my belt, and I ended up just dropping my belt here. I find that it's much better just to drop your belt than to try and resolve any problems there, especially when you're at depth. Here it wasn't really a big deal, but obviously the deeper you go, the bigger those problems can get, and much quicker.
When I saw that Justin was struggling with this grouper and getting him out of the rock, I made a dive, made sure I untangled him, grabbed the gun, made sure the fish was secure, and brought him to the surface. We were really excited that we were able to get 4 grouper, being my limit, my dad's limit, Milan's limit, and Justin's limit. And we were only able to do this by staying within state waters. And as you can see, this whole day we were in less than 40 feet of water shooting all of these really nice black grouper. Again, I wanted to point out that one of the first things we do when we get a fish like this is first to brain the fish to make sure it's not suffering, and 2, to bleed the fish so that the meat has the highest level of quality when we take it home and eat it. We headed in and got to work cleaning and packaging the fish. I get a lot of questions about what we do with all of this fish. Of course, we try to eat as much as possible while it's still fresh, but the rest we usually package up and freeze, or we give it to friends and family that we know appreciate the fresh fish. Vacuum sealing removes all of the air from the package, which ensures that the fish lasts longer in the freezer without getting freezer burn. For me, knowing exactly where our food comes from and how it was handled from the moment of harvest to when you cook it is the most rewarding aspect of spearfishing, fishing, and hunting. While we don't exclusively eat our own fish and meat, understanding the process gives us an appreciation for the life taken to provide our meals. I hope this video helps you appreciate where your fresh fish comes from. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.